If I told you there was a plant that tastes like lemon, actually tastes like a bright, fresh lemon, grows as a perennial weed in most American gardens, comes back every year without any care, and contains between 48 and 70 milligrams of vitamin C per 100 grams, comparable by weight to orange juice. You'd probably wonder why you've never heard of eating it. That plant is sorrel, Rumex acetosa. It's been used as a culinary lemon substitute across Europe and parts of North America for over 2,000 years. French chefs have been cooking with it for centuries. And in most American backyards, it grows quietly as a weed that people pull out every spring. This is the story of how a plant with a 2,000-year culinary tradition became something most Americans don't recognize as food. Sorrel's history as food predates written European culinary records. Archaeobotanical evidence of sorrel consumption goes back to the Neolithic period. Ancient Greeks and Romans used it both as food and medicine. Pliny the Elder wrote about it in the 1st century AD. Medieval Europeans relied on it heavily during the months before other garden greens were available in spring, because sorrel is one of the first perennial plants to emerge after winter. The sour, citrusy flavor comes from oxalic acid, which is the same compound that gives rhubarb its tang and spinach its slight astringency. For most of food history, before lemons were widely available in Northern Europe, sorrel served as the primary souring agent in cooking. Sorrel sauce was the classic accompaniment to fish, the same role that lemon sauce plays today. Sorrel soup was a national dish in Poland, still served traditionally with a hard-boiled egg and sour cream. In France, sorrel and cream sauce with salmon has been a classic preparation for centuries. In the United States, sorrel was commonly grown in kitchen gardens into the early 20th century. Historical seed catalogs from the 1800s list it as a standard garden green. Immigrants from Eastern and Northern Europe brought their knowledge of cooking with it to the Midwest and Northeast. Then the standard story: commercial agriculture, grocery store convenience, and the loss of kitchen garden knowledge pushed it out of the mainstream. Today, sorrel occasionally shows up in upscale restaurant menus as a novelty. But it's growing as a perennial weed in millions of American gardens, and most of those gardeners have no idea it's food. The nutritional data for sorrel is well documented in multiple peer-reviewed analyses. Here's what the research shows per 100 grams of fresh sorrel leaves. Vitamin C, between 48 and 70 milligrams, depending on variety, season, and growing conditions. A study in the journal Aprofel puts fresh sorrel at 48 milligrams per 100 grams. Research published by the Garden Nutrition team, drawing on Cornell University food science data, cites values up to 70 milligrams. For comparison, fresh orange juice contains roughly 45 to 50 milligrams of vitamin C per 100 milliliters. Sorrel matches or exceeds it from leaves growing free in your garden. Vitamin A, approximately 4,000 IU per 100 grams, covering 133% of the daily recommended intake. Iron, 2.4 milligrams per 100 grams, about 30% of the daily recommended intake for adult men. Magnesium, 103 milligrams per 100 grams, which is 26% of the daily recommended intake, a notably high magnesium content for a leafy herb. Potassium, 390 milligrams per 100 grams. Protein, approximately 2 grams per 100 grams. Sorrel also contains meaningful amounts of flavonoids, including quercetin and kaempferol, both of which have demonstrated anti-inflammatory and antioxidant activity in published research. One nutritional note worth stating clearly: sorrel contains oxalic acid, which binds to some calcium and reduces its absorption compared to low-oxalate vegetables. For most healthy adults eating culinary amounts of sorrel, this is not a concern. The same applies to spinach and rhubarb. If you have a history of calcium oxalate kidney stones, moderation is advisable, same as with spinach. Common sorrel, Rumex acetosa, grows in a compact clump of long, arrow-shaped leaves with two small lobes pointing backward at the base of each leaf, like a pointed shield or an arrowhead. The leaves are smooth, bright green, and grow from a central crown on individual stems. Mature plants reach 1 to 3 feet tall. The flavor is the most reliable identifier. If you pick a leaf and it tastes distinctly sour and lemony, like biting into a leaf that's been marinated in lemon juice, you have sorrel. Nothing else wild in the average American garden has that specific, immediate, clean sourness. The taste is genuinely distinctive. It's a perennial plant, which means it comes back from the same root year after year. Look for it in garden beds, along fence lines, and in any ground that's been cultivated or disturbed. It tends to persist in gardens where it was once planted, continuing to grow for years after the gardener who planted it has moved on. There is one look-alike to be aware of, yellow dock, Rumex crispus. It's in the same genus and also edible, but the leaves are longer, the edges are wavy rather than smooth, and it tastes more bitter than sour. If what you found tastes bitter rather than lemony, you likely have yellow dock. Still edible, still used traditionally as a cooked green, but a different plant with a different use. Harvest the young leaves in spring for the mildest, most citrusy flavor. Larger, more mature leaves are more intensely sour and better suited to cooking than raw eating. The most important thing to understand about cooking with sorrel is that it dissolves. The oxalic acid in the leaves breaks down the cell structure almost instantly when heat is applied. A handful of fresh sorrel goes into a hot pan, and within 30 seconds it's reduced to a silky, khaki-colored puree. This is why sorrel is used in sauces and soups rather than as a sautéed side dish. The texture transforms completely when cooked. Sorrel sauce for fish. Melt a tablespoon of butter in a pan. Add a large handful of fresh sorrel leaves. Stir for 30 seconds until they dissolve into a puree. Add a quarter cup of cream. Season with salt. That's it. Spoon it over pan-fried salmon, trout, or any white fish. This is one of the classic French preparations, and it's genuinely excellent. Sorrel soup. Sauté onion and garlic in butter until soft. Add 4 cups of chicken or vegetable broth and bring to a boil. Add 3 to 4 large handfuls of fresh sorrel leaves. Stir until wilted, then blend. Season with salt and a spoon of cream if you want it richer. This is the traditional Polish green soup. It's bright, tangy, and deeply satisfying, especially with a soft-boiled egg floated in it. Raw in salads. Young spring leaves, finely sliced, mixed with milder greens. The key word is finely sliced. Cutting releases the flavor and distributes it through the salad without any one bite being overwhelmingly sour. Sorrel pairs well with goat cheese, beets, walnuts, and any creamy or fat-rich dressing. As a lemon substitute, anywhere a recipe calls for lemon juice for brightness, a vinaigrette, a pasta, a grain salad, try fresh sorrel leaves instead. You get the same acidity with more nutritional value and a slightly more complex flavor. Sorrel may be the easiest perennial food plant you'll ever grow. Once established, it comes back every year with essentially no maintenance, and it's one of the first greens available in spring, often appearing while the ground is still cold and nothing else is growing. Plant seeds or a root division in spring or fall. Sorrel tolerates a wide range of soils. It actually prefers slightly acidic, somewhat poor soil, which makes it ideal for difficult garden spots. Give it full sun to partial shade. Water it in after planting and then, largely, leave it alone. In the first year, harvest lightly to let the plant establish. From the second year on, you can harvest heavily throughout the spring and fall seasons. In summer, sorrel tends to bolt. It sends up tall seed stalks and the leaves get more intensely bitter. Cut the seed stalks off as soon as they appear to keep the plant producing tender leaves longer. Or let some go to seed if you want to expand your patch. In most climates with freezing winters, the leaves die back completely in fall. The roots are cold-hardy to well below freezing. In late February or early March, before any other garden plant is showing growth, sorrel emerges. That first spring harvest, when your garden is otherwise empty, is one of the most useful things a perennial food plant can give you. A clump of sorrel planted in a corner of any garden provides reliable, high vitamin C greens every spring and fall for years without replanting. The French have known this for centuries. There's no good reason it shouldn't be in every American kitchen garden. 2,000 years of culinary tradition. Vitamin C comparable to orange juice. A perennial that comes back every year before anything else in your garden is awake. And in most American yards right now, it's either growing unrecognized as a weed or being pulled out on site. Every plant I cover on this channel has a version of this story. Not a conspiracy, not a scandal, just the slow, quiet disappearance of knowledge that used to be common and now isn't. And the good news is that recovering it is not complicated. The plants are still there. You just need to know what you're looking at. Subscribe if you want to keep building that knowledge. In the next video, I'm covering a plant that you've definitely stepped on in your lawn and never thought twice about. It's been called a weed since the 1950s. Before that, it was a documented wound-healing plant used by pilgrims in the 1600s, and its nutritional profile makes it one of the most useful things growing in your grass right now.